Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Reid is dead, but he's still winning against Voight in Chicago PD Season 13. Deputy Chief Reid no longer poses a direct threat in Chicago PD, but his legacy will continue to haunt Voight and the CPD from the beyond. When a power struggle like the one between Voight and Reid comes to such a dramatic end, it's only natural there are consequences. Chicago PD Season 13 is already set up to explore them. There's a rather neat space currently occupied by Chicago PD in Dick Wolf's TV universe, in that Chicago PD spotlights its characters' more questionable moral decisions with almost zero apology. But Voight's finally crossed a line that can't be ignored, and with Toya Turner leaving Chicago PD this season, he'll have one less ally to help him avoid the fallout. In many ways, Charlie Reid's tenure as Chicago PD Season 12's main villain highlights everything that makes the procedural one of the best cop shows on TV right now. Reid and Voight are both willing to blur the lines of right and wrong in order to clean up Chicago, but Reid's aggression in dropping actual bodies took things too far. The Chicago PD Season 12 finale gave Voight the chance to end Reid's reign of terror for good. After Voight's investigation was stymied by the death of a drug dealer, Reid gives the dealer's son Reid's whereabouts just before a hearing to shut down the intelligence unit. But even with the unit saved, Voight's troubles were clearly far from over. Voight's Chicago PD relationship with Chapman took the most notable hit. Although everyone in the unit seemed to tacitly understand that Reid's killer hadn't found him by chance, Chapman directly confronts Voight in the middle of a wedding about his involvement in Reid's murder. His refusal to simply lie and deny culpability could create further problems for the intelligence unit. Although Chapman can't legally accept Voight's silence at the wedding as a confession of guilt, she has a duty as an ADA to uphold the law. By abetting Reid's murder, Voight reopened intelligence to the same scrutiny that Reid attempted subjecting them to under false pretenses. They now appear more corrupt than ever, and it seems that hasn't gone overlooked. While hyping viewers up for NBC's 2025 fall schedule, the network released a trailer for all 3 series in the One Chicago franchise that contains some subtle reveals. Concerning Chicago PD, Voight is seen telling a superior that there will be consequences for benching the intelligence unit, including the deaths of innocents that Voight and his team might have saved. This seems like something of a reversal from the previous season. Since Reid called for the hearing regarding the future of the unit, the deputy chief's death initially saved the unit because there was nobody to speak on Reid's behalf. If the unit still faces the threat of disbanding, it suggests somebody else is picking up where Reid left off. Sadly, Chapman is the likeliest candidate. Nina supported Hank's battle against Reid both practically and emotionally. Voight choosing to dispatch Reid by operating outside of the law is a betrayal of Chapman's trust, and she now has to balance that emotional hurt with a job that requires her to prosecute any likely suspect objectively. Voight is now such a suspect. It's obviously concerning to have active law enforcement taking orders from a potential criminal, so even investigating Voight may require shutting down the intelligence unit on at least a temporary basis. But that doesn't mean the end of the unit altogether, nor would it necessarily be a particularly unfortunate turn if the series actually were to disband them a while. Voight losing to Reid in Chicago PD would have arguably been a more interesting way to end the season, as Reid's victory would have set up compelling obstacles for intelligence to reclaim their badges. Now with the team at risk of disbanding anyway, there's still a chance to tell the intriguing story of how they fight to reassemble. Although she poses the greatest threat to Voight right now, Chapman could also be the key to saving the unit. Nina's worked with Voight long enough to know a bit about his team's moral values, so she's unlikely to suggest that they knew what Voight had in store for Reid. She could easily argue for keeping the intelligence unit active. This could lead to the brief return of Chicago PD's early season beat cop stories, something Season 12 didn't have time to explore while the team was shut down. Seeing them operate as beat cops again would accentuate just how much the team has grown, proving to both their superiors and viewers that they belong in intelligence more than anywhere thrives else. On the idea that the past never truly stays buried. Even in death, certain characters cast shadows so heavy they suffocate the living. Such is the case with ASA Chapman's nemesis and Voight's formidable adversary, Assistant State's Attorney James Reid. Though he met his fate before Season 13's explosive opening, Reid's ghost is proving that death doesn't stop a man from winning battles against Hank Voight. The ghost of a nemesis. Reid always had Voight's number. Unlike other prosecutors who bent the law or turned a blind eye when intelligence got results, Reid loathed Voight's methods. He believed in hard rules, black and white justice, and exposing corruption wherever he saw it. That made him dangerous, not because he carried a gun, but because he carried the kind of power Voight couldn't muscle out of the way. In Season 13, Reid's absence is palpable, but so are the fingerprints he left behind. Files, memos, and testimonies he set in motion before his untimely death are resurfacing like landmines. Even when buried 6 feet under, Reid still controls the game. The fallout from Reid's files. The season begins with Chapman uncovering a sealed brief that Reid left in her office safe. It's not just paperwork, it's a legal grenade. Inside, Reid documented every questionable tactic Voight used in cases stretching back a decade. Witness intimidation, evidence skirting the edge of admissibility, informants coerced into danger. Reid left no stone unturned. Though he never got the chance to prosecute Voight in life, in death Reid orchestrated the perfect setup, a paper trail too damning to ignore. Internal affairs can't look away, and Chapman, torn between loyalty to Voight and duty to her profession, is forced into the role Reid wanted all along, Voight's reckoner. Suddenly, Voight finds himself not just fighting criminals, but the ghost of a man who built a case strong enough to survive the grave. Voight's rage against a dead man. Voight has survived dirty cops, cartel leaders, and even city hall politics, but Season 13 presents a new kind of nightmare, fighting someone who isn't alive to be intimidated. Voight can't slam Reid against a wall, can't cut deals in a dark alley, can't appeal to someone's sense of survival. Instead, every move he makes feels like walking through Reid's chessboard. Each new case intelligence takes on gets tied back to something Reid left in motion. A defense lawyer cites Reid's memos. A judge references one of Reid's old complaints. Journalists receive anonymous leaks of Reid's sealed files. Voight's frustration becomes almost Shakespearean. How do you kill a ghost? Reid's legacy infects intelligence. The beauty of Chicago PD Season 13 lies in how Reid's ghost doesn't just haunt Voight, it infects the entire team. Haley Upton, still reeling from Halstead's departure, she's the one most vulnerable to Reid's righteousness. She begins to wonder if maybe Reid was right about Voight all along. Watching her mentor unravel while a dead man's words ring true makes her question her place in intelligence. Kevin Atwater. Long accustomed to balancing the moral gray areas, Atwater finds himself respecting Reid's stance, even if he hated the man in life. Atwater's conscience nags louder when Reid's reports highlight the very systemic issues Atwater has fought against. Adam Ruzick. With his return to the unit, Ruzick grapples with how Reid's files paint him as Voight's loyal soldier. He knows it's true, but now the reputation follows him, undermining his credibility in court. Trudy Platt. Platt recognizes Reid's brilliance, even if she despised his sanctimony. In her dry, biting way, she warns Voight that sometimes the biggest wins come when the other guy is already dead. The team starts to fracture, not because of Voight's leadership, but because Reid's echo forces them to see their leader in a harsher light.